Kerwin Gaines here. Welcome to this brief edition of the agenda. We're coming to you pretty quick because of the news that just hit the airwaves. You might have gotten it at home, and that is that the current president, President Biden, Delaware's favorite, Uncle Joe, is no longer running for the presidential nomination in 2024 for the Democratic Party. It is a blow, I think, that a lot of Americans are feeling right now. A surprise to some, not a surprise to the others, but we wanted to make sure that because of something of this nature, this magnitude, it definitely falls on the agenda, and it has to make sure that you and your issues are on the agenda. So we wanted to get this out to you today. We're very excited to have Kat Cottle, who is the Democratic Party chair for Newcastle County, here with us today to kind of give her ideas and thoughts on this current issue and ensure that the information is getting to you, the citizens, the constituents. Not only if you're a Democrat, but a Republican alike. This affects all Delawareans. This affects all Americans. So, Kat, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us on very short notice this Sunday.
Ed, thank you for having me.
Yes, great. So, understanding what's going on now, I think you and I both are collecting information as it's coming in. We don't know everything. We may not even know a lot, but we do know that President Biden is no longer running for election in 2024. It is not seeking the nomination of the Democratic Party for their upcoming convention. Please tell us your thoughts as the Democratic lead for Newcastle County as this information is unfolding.
So as we're getting more information, I think it's pretty clear that the president took this responsibility and this decision seriously. And I think that it is also very clear that he will always make the best decision for America, not for Joe, not for his family, but for America and for the people who have voted for him. I'm heartbroken, not gonna sugarcoat it. But if this is what he believes will take to win in November, then let's do it.
Yeah, I think a lot of Delawareans, especially, are heartbroken, especially those who grew up with Joe being part of the community, being part of our daily vernacular, and not being a stranger around the streets of Delaware, especially northern Delaware. It wasn't uncommon to see then Senator Biden, then President Biden, Vice President Biden, then President Biden around. Seeing Secret Service detail for such a small state has always been such a big deal. But now, for those who deal with the 141 corridor, we're kind of used to the traffic jams and the issues. But also, we're very used to having a calm head as we saw fit in the White House currently. I think he's done a magnificent job. I think he will continue to do a magnificent job throughout his term. Briefly, your thoughts on the nomination or his recommendation at this point of having Vice President Kamala Harris run in his place for the next president of the United States?
But I think that he said it perfectly, and I don't know that we need to go any further, is he picked her because she was the next best person to be president. So when he picked her in 2020, that is why he picked her. I am excited to hopefully have a woman at the top of the ticket again. And I think that Kamala has what it takes to win in November if that's who the party decides is going to be the nominee.
How do you think, Kat, as you're monitoring closely the Democratic Party here in the state of Delaware, who normally, holds a tremendous amount of seats here in the state of Delaware? We are what one would call a blue state. But how do you think that this election, I mean, this time last week we were dealing with a president that just had a former president, that had an assassination attempt who's running for president. This week we're having his contender, the current sitting president, decide not to continue his run. I mean, the 2024 election has been, if anything, but boring, and is continuing to be a surprise throughout the summer. But when we're talking about local elections, how does that affect local elections? How does that affect the Democratic Party here in the state of Delaware? And how do you foresee the election going?
So I think that Democrats in Delaware are going to continue to win big in the state at the local level. We have candidates who are knocking on doors right this second. We have candidates who are doing everything that they can to either maintain their seats or to win against Republican incumbents. I don't think not having Joe at the top of the ticket isn't going to hurt those candidates who are doing the work, who are out there knocking on doors, who are raising money to win against incumbents who prefer to walk on votes instead of actually taking votes that their constituents want them to take. Um, I think that not having Joe at the top of the ticket may hurt some candidates who maybe weren't going full throttle. And I can't even tell you which candidate that would be, because all of our candidates in Newcastle County, and I know Kent and Sussex also have candidates who are going full throttle for their campaigns. Um, I think that everyone will maybe take a day to kind of process what's happening, and then they're going to continue to work, and we're going to continue to work to elect Democrats in the state. We're going to welcome Joe home when it's time to welcome him home in January of next year, and we're just gonna keep winning like we always do.
So I'll be very frank and upfront and ask you, what do you believe at this early stage is Kamala's chances of securing enough votes to become the next president of the United States?
Are we talking votes for the convention at the convention, or votes in November?
Votes in November, assuming that she receives the votes at the convention. But it's very early. You're bringing up a very good point. We don't know if someone else is going to step up, if there will be another Democratic candidate at the convention that throws their hat in the ring and says whether or not they can do it. More than likely, there will be. There have been several other politicians there in Washington, in the House and in the Senate, who has said, you know what, I would like to take a shot at this as well. But assuming that she survives the convention, secures a nomination, how do you feel that she will do against former President Donald Trump?
So I think that Vice President Harris will be a phenomenal candidate and will have no trouble beating the convicted felon that is our former president. And I say that because she's been able to talk to parts of this country that maybe are often overlooked by both parties. And she's able to reach out to them. She's able to connect with them. And that is the type of person, if we can't have Joe, because Joe is also very good at that, but if we can't have Joe, then Kamala is going to be the next best person to do that. And I like her chances. I think we're going to win in November.
Well, I think we all want to see a very good race. We want to ensure that the country is in the best hands. Trying to be as nonpartisan as we can here as journalists at DETV. We definitely want to ensure that all the candidates are getting all the information out in regards to what they could bring to the country, and that the parties and their party leadership, such as yourself, are letting folks know. Just briefly, how is the Democratic Party shaping up in the upcoming election? How are things going? Could you give us a little update on that?
Sure. So I know for sure in Newcastle County, again, I've got candidates who are checking in with me on a weekly or daily basis, letting me know that they are knocking on doors and letting me know, quite frankly, what they're hearing on the doors, which is really important for us to understand that, these are the concerns that Delawareans have. They weren't necessarily all hearing about, Joe's performance or Joe should drop out, but they're hearing about, the gas prices are too high, my groceries are too high. They're hearing about not having enough services to get them through, for example, like SNAP benefits and those kinds of things. And childcare is on the rise as well. And we have had some great legislation that was passed in the last legislative session. And I'm looking forward to candidates being elected and reelected to continue on some of those legislative priorities that we have as a party. I know statewide we are looking good. I know that we've got some primaries and we're going to get through that, and we're all going to come together on September 11th and work hard to make sure that we maintain those seats at the statewide level as well.
So, as you brought up, it seems as though as the Republican Party, if they're nominated as the next president of the United States, we are going to depend very heavily on states' rights in regards to securing current legislation that is in place at the state level, and to ensure that Americans are given the most opportunity and, I would say, equity in regards to their decisions as they possibly can. Has the Democratic Party for the state of Delaware looked into this, and are they currently preparing to enhance state rights in case of a Republican president?
So I think that we are taking a look at it. I know that we're taking that seriously. We've done some of that work ahead of the 2016 election. Senator Brian Townsend made sure that we codified Roe in this state, which turns out to be a pretty important thing to have passed as early as we did. We have codified other things. We've, the ERA, yes, the ERA, and we've started to work on codifying other things that maybe the Supreme Court has said is something that we have a right to, and who knows what will happen during the next Supreme Court session. So I know that we've got legislators, current legislators, and up and coming, hopefully to win legislators who will continue to look at those issues and make the changes and make the laws where we need them to be made.
I appreciate that. Quick question. As a Democratic lead for Newcastle County, without stating names, were you getting nudges or conversations about, especially with the president being such a hometown guy, uh, about his resignation or his lack of running? There were people coming up to you and saying, "Hey, I think Joe should step down"?
So I definitely feel like I had some committee people who were doing that. I had a few of local state officials, local officials, say the same thing, and you know they're entitled to their opinion. I was behind Joe from the start, and support Joe in whatever decisions that he's made, including this one. Um, and you know I also take very seriously when my committee members bring up to me that they have a concern. And I'm happy to talk those through, and I usually do. Although the last couple of weeks have been a little crazy, both in the Democratic Party and in my personal life. But yes, there were definitely people who were coming up to me and saying that.
Yeah. So, I mean, putting you on the spot, Kat, do you think this is the best decision for the country?
I think I think it is a difficult decision. I think that I would rather have Joe at the top of the ticket, but not at the cost of an election. And so I think that this was the best decision that could be made right now. And I'm excited to work with whoever the nominee is, and work to make sure that we keep little d democracy intact after the November election.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how the nomination is going to wash out. I'm very interested to see if Kamala has the actual horsepower to push forward and make it through the nomination process and give Trump a run for his money. I think it'll be a very interesting election. I think it's already been a very interesting election period thus far. Definitely one for the record books. This is truly history in the making. I don't want anyone at home to think that it is not. From what we've seen over the past 10 to 15 days, better yet, for the month of July and June, it has been nothing like I've ever seen before. I don't know about you.
Yeah, there's a meme going around Facebook and Instagram right now that says I'd like to live in precedented times instead of unprecedented times, and I that meme probably hits hardest right now today. Yeah, I think we are absolutely in historical, unprecedented times. But I think we're ready for it. I think that we're going to come through okay. Um, but yeah, it's definitely not been a normal election cycle. Not that I'm sure we've had a normal election cycle since 2018 anyway. So
Yeah, it's definitely different. I think that former Democratic President Obama made it very clear in his campaign slogan of change. I think that this will definitely be an election of change.
absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. So we'd like to thank you for joining us here on the agenda, Kat. As always, we are open forum for communication and understanding to get out to the constituents here in Delaware to let them know that they are on the agenda, hence the name of the show. Thank you so much for joining us today on the agenda.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
And for all of those out there that are watching this, I hope that this didn't break up your Sunday too bad. But we felt that it was important that you understood what was going on. That you understood that we're watching out for your best interest and ensuring that the information, regardless of party, is reaching you at home real time. So please stay in tune with us for upcoming information in regards to this. We'll try to get some things posted out to you on social media. Please the Agenda DE on Instagram. Like us, love us, and all those other great things. We're definitely here to help you. Look out for us on DETV as well. As a reporter that is, again, nonpartisan and taking a look at this, I think this is unprecedented times. I am reluctant to be confident in regards to how things are going. I think that we will see things over the next few weeks that we as Americans have never seen before and have never experienced before. I think that it is going to be a stretch, a stressful stretch over the next few months here until November to see how things pan out. I'm very interested to see the remarks of our Republican nominee, former President Donald Trump, in regards to this latest move, to know what he feels and how he feels that that's affecting Americans and moving forward. I hope that this doesn't hurt the Democratic Party. I hope that they have bounced back to ensure that all Americans are staying on the agenda, as do you. I look forward to seeing you right here on the agenda. Please check us out online and on DETV Channel 28. Have a great Sunday.